Coming up, we're back again with the return of the hockey season. We had a long summer, crazy free agency, but the start of the football season signaled that hockey is right around the corner, and we're welcoming back two of our friends, Connor and Gabe. At the top of the hour, we're going to talk about a lot of the Canucks, and then we're going to get into a little bit of fun with our annual and inaugural Over-Under Pod. So stay tuned.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey, Connor, Gabe is back. When's the last time we got together for this?
It was free agency, frenzy kind of thing.
Mid-July.
Yeah, it was a little while ago.
This is what we actually planned for, right? Like we had. I'm glad we actually stuck to this because I think it would have been too hard if we had actually stuck to an idea of like more consistent. This is perfect.
To be honest, nothing really happened since then. I mean, apart from some extensions and injury news, nothing really big happened since the last time we all got together.
I could say the tragic loss of Johnny Gaudreau.
Yes, that's the biggest one.
I'm gonna take a second for Johnny.
Yeah, you know what? Let's do raise a glass for
cheers
Johnny.
to Johnny.
Cheers to
That
Johnny.
was sad.
Yeah, that was very sad.
Sad.
The crazy story about that is I was on Reddit super randomly that Thursday evening, and a guy posted, he's like, I heard Johnny Gaudreau died, and so many people were flaming him for it. Like
What?
Because it was
The
unconfirmed,
guy that
right?
said it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people.
Yeah,
him
and
for
then
those first
That Reddit
couple
thread was
hours.
crazy.
Yeah, and then I went to bed, and I woke up like 6 o'clock the next day, and then it's confirmed Johnny Gaudreau and his brother died. It's just, what a wild, I don't know. I just came out of left field,
Yeah, absolutely. It was just like huge tragedy. Him and his brother passing away the day before their sister's wedding.
That
like,
made it even worse.
Yeah, like the circumstances surrounding it too just makes it sound like something like out of a bad movie, like a sad movie, right? Like it's just crazy that happened, and so sorry for him and his family, and even for the team too. Like Columbus is kind of in a tough spot as is in a rebuild, and then add this to it, and it's just like
it
so
just
much
doesn't
tragedy.
help anything.
Yeah, like in some ways their season wasn't a lot to look forward to, but this just makes it a bit of a write-off. I feel like it's all just about mourning Gaudreau at this point. Like,
What if they went on a miracle run in honor? That'd be
what's
insane.
crazy in the NHL? Like that wouldn't totally stun me, just because like I've seen it so many times before. Like I don't know if you guys remember when the Rangers brought LA to like in the Stanley Cup Finals. It was all in the back of Marty St. Louis' dad died.
Right,
During their first round or whatever, and they were like
an
an 8-seater, and they literally just carried that momentum somehow, and like.
Well, you need something to. These guys play so much hockey that it's not just like go and win. You need to like find something to inspire them.
Yeah,
and
like
something
like the
inspires
Vegas
you.
Golden Knights, the Misfits, and like it just doesn't take much in hockey to get a team going, and like. It's such a tragedy, obviously, but like, would it completely stun me if Columbus like came out of the gate hot as hell? It really wouldn't.
It wouldn't at all.
Yeah.
With his best friend Monahan, of course.
Yeah,
I could see him just going.
this.
Channeling his inner.
That story is so sad. Did you hear about that?
What?
Sean Monahan, so it's like 3 or 4 days. It must have been like 3 or 4 days before Johnny Gaudreau died. He was in an interview in a local Columbus radio station or news channel, whatever it was. And they were asking him what he was looking forward to the upcoming season. And he said he couldn't wait to play again on the line with Johnny Gaudreau. And
Like they were tight.
Damn,
tight
dude. That's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like that was the whole reason he signed there. I mean, nobody really looks to Columbus right now specifically.
Well, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Like that contract sucks.
Yeah,
but
exactly. It's not a great contract, but we knew why Monahan went there. It was purely to go play with his buddy, right? Like,
if you want to hear our real thoughts on that, go listen to our summer free agency pod.
Yeah, that'll give you a true perspective of our feelings.
At the same time, following this tragedy, would it stun me if Monahan has a career year? Not at all.
No,
Yeah.
earns his contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, for us, it hits home a little bit harder because he played for our
nemesis.
provincial rivals. So we saw
Eight
him
times
We saw him a lot.
so
Eight to
much.
10
Yeah.
times.
So,
I've had him in fantasy for many, many years and loved him.
so we know how good he is.
I thought it was like, I shouldn't say funny because someone's died. It's not funny, but like Calgary hated Johnny Gaudreau. They absolutely fucking hated him. And then now because of the death, they have like all the sweaters and the Gatorade and skills, which is nice. Like, I'm not saying that was wrong of them. Like, that's good they did it. It's just funny how like they hated them.
Yeah. There's sports and then there's the
of course. And I get it. And I respect it. Like, I think it's classy of them. It's just funny that like transition.
Yeah.
But they talk about this all the time where people die and all of a sudden they're all revered and have roses. And there's a saying that goes like, honor people when they're alive, you know? Like, if you really feel that way, tell it to them when they're actually alive instead of going retroactively giving them roses,
absolutely,
you know? Unfortunately, it happens not just in sports, but like in everyday life, you know? Like, someone goes and you're like, I really like that person. And you're like, well, did you ever tell them? Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Anyways, on a more positive note, I mean, all four of us, I mean, we've been really, really transparent here. We're huge Canucks fans, and we're routing out into the season. And I really want to start off this pod more of an outlook into our Canucks season. What do you guys think? What your expectations are? Your thoughts? Maybe some hot takes.
And maybe don't worry, I got a lot of those.
And I'll just maybe give you a quick summary of the Canucks offseason. So into the Canucks dressing room, we have Sammy Blais, Daniel Sprong, Artur Silovs re-extended with us. We got Vincent Desharnais. We got Yuri Patera, Derek Forbert, Kiefer Sherwood, Danton Heinen, Jake DeBrusk, Tyler Myers is back, and probably will be way more liked this time around with that contract. And our friend Dakota Joshua is back as well too. On their way out, unfortunately, is Vasily Podkolzin, Ilya Mikheyev, and Sam Lafferty. So those are in and outs for the offseason. Nothing really big in terms of super big names. I think the biggest name was Jake DeBrusk, but we talked about all this in the offseason. So, I mean, this is what our team looks like going into camp, and then obviously we're having training camp right now and maybe some surprises. I know some big names coming into camp. Our questions about Lekaramaki. Is he going to be on the team this year? Maybe Atu Ratu finally coming up and fulfilling his potential. So maybe let's start there. What are your thoughts coming out of the offseason and into training camp in the preseason?
Yeah, I'll start it off.
Please.
I think the first thing I want to touch on was I don't think we had signed Sprong at that point. I think we were talking about the rumor.
Wasn't it the day of, or like we were?
It was like the day after they signed him. We were talking about it. The rumor came out or whatever it was, and we were all like, "Oh, imagine if we could get Sprong at like $1 million or something." And then like somehow we did it. So that was pretty awesome.
Under
$1 million, just under $1 million. But other than that, I guess not a lot happened. There's a couple, like Dak just said, prospects to watch as kind of like dark horse candidates to make the team out of camp and preseason. Biggest one being Lekaramaki. I don't know if you guys know, we had that Young Stars tournament just recently. It was like a 3-game tournament with Winnipeg, Calgary, and Edmonton.
Nice.
I did watch one of them because it was just like live streaming.
Yeah.
I just, honest to God, is curious about watching Lekaramaki.
Yeah. Well, did you see day one camp? What line he was put on?
DeBrusk and Petey.
DeBrusk and Petey. Yeah. So, I mean, everybody's sitting there going like fingers crossed, you know?
I mean, it's camp and there's split squads, so you got to fill out the roster. But watching the Young Stars tournament was really interesting. They were playing Edmonton, so they had like Matt Savoy, a couple other Edmonton guys.
Yeah.
Some interesting prospects. And I got to say, even though he didn't get any points in the game, like Lekaramaki was like head and shoulders above everyone else. I felt like when he had the puck, it was just like, oh, what fancy little moves he going to do? How is he so fast at picking up a puck, reading a play, making an outlet pass? Like, it was really nice to see when you're just like, oh shit, he's like by far the best prospect on the ice.
Do you
how
think?
many prospects have we had in recent memory where we drafted them and they're like, oh, we have a really good prospect? I feel like we haven't had many of those.
Well,
Since
Petey
and Hughes. It's been a bit. It's
Yeah.
been a couple years.
Demko was pretty touted.
Yeah, we actually hit
good.
quite a few times.
But it's been a few.
Besser.
Yeah, we built our core more or less on it.
I don't think Besser was that. Brock had his things, but then he got injured right away.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I
He's
agree
not
with
like
Petey, Hughes, and
He
Demko.
had a good call
Yeah,
here.
he's not like a franchise guy, but he's a good for draft and develop. Like, you can't complain about getting a Besser.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Sure,
but like, it's been a while. Saying what you were saying, like, you think of all the flops since then, right? You Levy, Podkolzin, Hogwinder's kind of in that tweener stage. We don't quite still know where he's at, although he was a second round pick. But yeah, it's been, and then not having first round picks too the last couple of years, right? Like, we haven't hit in a while. The hope is obviously Lekaramaki, and I think Willander. He's not at camp right now because he, I believe, is nursing an injury. and he's just going back.
I don't think he's making the team
No,
for another
he's
2 years.
19. He's going to go back to Boston, play another year.
Yeah.
He gets to be the number one guy.
Well, the defenseman needs seasoning. Like, we'll talk about him later, but look at Lane Hudson in Montreal,
3
right?
years, yeah.
He stuck around longer, and now basically everyone's saying that they got the steal of that
Everyone
draft.
knows defensemen take longer.
I don't care, like, if you're huge and you look jacked as hell and you're a kid and you're playing against men, you may look big, but you're not as strong.
Yeah,
and if you're a defenseman, you do just have to be strong. Like, it takes
that's
time
why,
to
like,
develop that.
Quinn Hughes in so many ways is like, that's just how good of a skater and how
Well,
good
same with
offensive-
McCarr.
Yeah,
McCarr
exactly.
came
But
in.
at least he had
Yeah.
size on him, right? Like
Yeah.
Hughes, the whole reason he slipped to us was no one thought he'd transition at that size.
Yeah.
And he did it pretty damn quick, considering what he is.
Well-
but yeah, back to like our prospects. Outside of Lekaramaki, the only other dark horse one for me is DPD, or Elias Pettersson, the defenseman.
Everyone's been talking about him.
So he had a really good Young Stars tournament too. He just looked like a man compared to most people out there. Like, I think he's like 6'3", 210 already. And he's like 20 or 21. Like, he's pretty young. Like, he's gonna get to, like, not Zadorov size, but he's gonna be a big boy.
Dope.
And he is vicious.
I just thought of something so
I like
funny.
that. I
He
like
throws hits. He's
Imagine-
the angriest Swede outside of, I think, is Gudis Swedish?
I actually don't know what Gudis
Is
is. to be
Gudis
honest with
angry?
you.
He's very
He's
like
very-
that.
He got a big beard. But I was thinking about this. If imagine the Elias Pettersson makes the team this year, and a kid goes, "Mom, I want like a PD jersey this year," and how many people
You get him.
like, what the heck? This isn't Elias Pettersson.
found it at Winners and it was on discount.
It is Elias Pettersson.
But it says EPD.
Yeah.
But
So-
he's the only dark horse one for me outside of the Lekaramaki.
So for real though, like coming out of camp, out of all the young guns, and there's a couple of them, and you touch base, like, who do you think realistically makes the team? And I noticed someone you didn't bring up is Atu Ratu, right? Because he is a little seasoned now in terms of young players, where he's simmered in the AHL system for a little bit with New York Islanders. By all intents and purposes, apparently had a great season in Abbotsford last year. Not statistically, but in terms of solid, consistent play. And there seems to be like a gap in center for us down the line, right? Like where he could
So-
maybe jump in.
Yeah, one thing with that I'll touch on is the reason he actually had such a good specific second half at Abbotsford last year is they actually put him on the wing.
Oh.
So yeah, that's one thing.
That's
like,
tough to hear.
Yeah, I know. So it's kind of like I don't know what he is yet. The hope is he's a centerman, but this is the thing with young guys is like you always want them to end up centermen, but half the young centermen end up becoming wingers just because they're better at it.
Yeah.
Especially at his size, he's kind of like that power forward build on him, so it could work in our favor.
I feel like just going into the NHL, like inevitably you probably can be a center in the lower leagues because you're so good, right?
Yeah.
But then to go into the NHL, like you have to be the best to be the centers.
Yeah.
It's like even though you're good enough to be there, it's like maybe you're good enough to still be there, but you're not good enough to be a center at the top level.
Well, the thing with being a center too, the more I've watched and digested hockey is, apart from like the elite of the elite centers where, and there's really a rare few of them, because even McDavid at center has pretty decent defensive responsibility.
Yeah.
You have to be responsible as a
Oh,
center.
yeah.
You can't be like a winger and be an elite offensive player and just float. Centermen have to kind of shoulder a little bit of load
really
responsibility.
big thing that people overlook is face-offs. Like if
Yeah.
you're not winning or at least getting close to that like 50% face-off like outcome, like you're just not going to stick it as a center.
Yeah.
Like you could be a great vision playmaker, whatever, but if you have a less than 45% win rate on face-offs, like you're not going to stick it.
Well, I'm pretty sure centers go like their job is to go like below the hash marks and be the third man in.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
That, right? So
It's,
they have
it's
to do all they
defensive
have to do that.
responsibility. It's face-off winning,
And then
like
you have to
obviously
go and score.
playmaking is a big part of it. That's why like Petey's a great center, specifically I think because of his playmaking. His next best thing is he's actually pretty darn good defensively.
Yeah.
His weakest part of him is his face-offs.
Face-offs.
He's never even been close to
So,
that.
actually, it's a good place to start now that you brought this up. So, I looked at the Canucks tentative depth chart at all the positions, and I sort of use this as a jumping point on, and we'll talk about it later in the over-under pod, but I use this as a jumping point on how I'm looking at shaping the team. And we're looking at depth and center, and some of these guys, again, can play dual positions, right? So this is our depth and center right now. There's Petey, obviously, but he also, moonlights as a left winger when the responsibility needed. I don't know if you saw the news yesterday, but Pia Sutter is moving back to center.
Yeah, I think he's going to start the year with Garland. And
Yeah,
Joshua.
and then we have Bluger,
Sweet.
right?
Yeah.
Obviously JT, and then a couple of the guys here. We have Ratu, Amon, and Carlson, right? Some of the dark horse guys, or maybe in the taxi squad. At left wing, we have Joshua, DeBrusque, Holglander, who plays both sides, Danton Heinen, Kiefer Sherwood, PDG, and Baines. So kind of a huge gap on that spot, because if you dual PD and JT, there's still a gap there, you know?
Yeah.
And then in right wing, we have Besser, Garland, Sprong, Lekarimaki, and Klimovich. And Besser obviously is going into the season with a little bit of injury history from the blood clots, right? So when you look at some of the depth there, it almost kind of highlights maybe we should have gone and got some depth scoring during the offseason. I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
I think we're pretty good on depth scoring. I don't know, because I still look at a guy like Daniel Sprong, and I'm like, I don't know if he's on the first line or the fourth line, but that's usually a good sign of
I feel like
He'll
that's
score.
kind of what he is to us.
He'll fit in somewhere.
Yeah, but that's like the epitome of depth scoring. If you have a guy like Sprong and he could be on your first or fourth line, right?
yeah.
It's like in a way that's like lacking elite winger talent at the same time, but like it means you have a lot of good middle six wingers, which I think we do.
Yeah.
Like outside of Besser and maybe DeBrusque, like we've got like Hoglander and Sherwood, Heinen, Sprong. Like there's
I'm
just
choked about. I really liked Pod. I wasn't upset about Pod. I was upset about Pod going as a fan of Pod, but it made sense right up until Joshua just got injured.
I know.
And then
Yeah.
it makes me really upset.
Well,
That was
yeah.
my first thought, and I think we all had it. We're like, "Fuck!" I
Yeah.
don't, would we have let him go if that was a
Do
thing?
you guys think we would have?
I think at the end of the day, it sounds like Joshua's recovery is actually not very long. Like he's
Okay,
basically
good.
just going to miss training camp and probably be available
Okay,
before
okay.
preseason.
Even if he's like a week or two.
yeah, no, like I think worst case scenario, he misses a game or two.
Oh,
So
I was under the impression he was out at least 2 months,
when
just
I
because the way they
first,
talked about
yeah,
it.
when I first read it, but he had the surgery done like 2 weeks ago, and the recovery is like 4 weeks or something.
Okay.
I think it was more of an awareness thing.
Yeah,
Just for us to know
like,
that happened. Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Like
I think
Yeah.
it was a
guys
big
get checked kind of thing.
But so this is so again, like I agree with you guys, and I'm bullish on this team. I think the team is going to do well.
Yeah.
Right. But when I look at just our winger depth, our center depth actually is really good.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Again,
but-
if Amon is your fifth, and
Exactly.
Roddy's probably your
and with Sutter
sixth.
moving back to center,
Yeah. Also, dark horse guy. I got to pull this out after watching the prospect thing again too. Is Max Sasson?
Really? Okay.
He's something. I don't know what yet. Like me and Steve were talking about him because he's big on all the minor league teams too. He's been watching him as close
Steve
as I
lives
have.
right there, right?
Yeah, and like Max Sasson, man, there's something about him where I'm like, this guy looks like he could at least be like a 4C in the NHL. Like he's giving me a lot of like Teddy Bluger vibes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
for me, it's just that, like, for example, Josh was starting the season not into training camp, right? And let's just say he misses a little bit of time. Besser, he's coming off the blood clots. By all the news reports, he's going to be coming into the season healthy. But again, question mark. So let's just say we remove those two from our scoring, we have DeBrusque, Hoglander, Heinen, Garland, Sprong, Lekarimaki. Yes, it's a good on paper, but there's some consistent scoring that we've kind of leaned on in the last year and a half, where you remove that and we kind of are a little bit thin on the wing.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, you have to give time for those young players to blossom, right?
Yeah.
You can't just plug everything and not just not let rookies play.
I actually have high hopes for Heinen because
I like kind of
my one of my clients is a huge Boston fan. All we talk about is hockey, and it's basically he talks about how great Boston is, and I rebuttal with Vancouver stuff. But it's not as great. But he said, like, he spoke of DeBrusque. He was like, he'll be a guy that through the season he'll be good, but you're not going to be like, wow. But as soon as the playoff comes, he'll probably become a fan favorite because of how consistently good he is in the playoffs. He's always Boston's best
I was
player.
looking at his point totals, he's actually better in the playoffs.
And then
especially.
he said Heinen, if I'm not mistaken, was ACL surgery he had like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah,
He had some
something like that,
surgery, and basically he was like really, really good, had the surgery, and then off of that surgery regressed, and now he's with us. So I do believe you can bounce back because, like, year after any surgery is so fresh and raw.
That was like our whole thing with McKayev. Right?
Yeah,
It was like
exactly.
we were like happy we moved on from him because he just wasn't producing and cost too much, but like we all felt bad for him.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he
has
if
a
he
pretty
looked
good
good.
year.
Yeah,
Because
I
look at
wouldn't-
Dickinson
yeah,
too, because
I know.
they're gonna get opportunity.
I
That team
100%
sucks.
see him getting like 20 goals, 40 odd points, and just having a little bit of a bounce back.
Connor, you've had back surgery. Dax, you've had your shoulder surgery. I've had my knee surgery. You can all say, like, as you go on, that you can just, for you, it's newer, but you can just assume it gets better because you get more used to it. At the start, it'd be so, like, I just can't imagine getting any major surgery. It took me 9 months to play soccer again, just like with the guys kicking a ball around chilling. I can't imagine after like
Pro
a
sports.
year, they're like, yo, get back into pro sports. Like, that's so nuts.
Not even a year. They're way quicker.
Yeah.
Like they rush you. It's a
6
whole
months.
thing. Yeah.
6-7 months.
Well, while we're on injuries here, I mean, there's a couple. We talked about this even before the pod. So crazy, man. I feel like the Canucks, for some reason, we have this recurring injury bug.
We're
And
cursed.
coming into the training camp, I mean, we talked about Joshua. I mean, his is not really an injury, but it sucks. Besser with the blood clots that started in the playoffs.
That's just Brock, dude. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. I don't want
That's
to.
pretty
I feel bad for
random,
him,
at
but
least.
it is random. But like Brock is the king of getting random injuries.
Yeah,
and I don't even blame him. I'm not saying like fuck Brock. I'm just saying this always happens to
Yeah,
Brock.
it's not like a reoccurring thing you have to worry about. Like
Yeah.
I remember Stamkos had.
Yeah,
it
and he was
years
fine.
back, and he's fine.
And then there was Petey, obviously, with the knee tendonitis. So it turned out basically from January onward, he was dealing with knee tendonitis.
Yeah.
Right? And then obviously the big one that we talked about. Did you hear about this about Demko?
What was it?
So he talked about his injury a few days ago, and you know what he described it as? As a rare and unique muscular injury.
Yeah, so apparently
What?
they've like sifted through a bunch of professional
And they've
sports
never seen that.
people, and only 3 people in soccer that they could find in professional sports
So
have
it's
had
never
this
been seen in
injury
hockey.
in the
Muscle,
last
like-
decade.
They didn't want to disclose it because hockey's
Yeah,
kind of
they're
mum
trying
about
to.
that.
I could tell they released some images. It's not a leg thing. I think it's an arm thing. Yeah, there's a picture of one of the coaches doing a thing with like one of those bands around his arm, and they're doing some weird ass shit with
Your
his
shoulder
arm.
or something?
I don't know.
Huh.
This is just a guess. It's just a picture I saw today from training camp,
And he's skating now, and he's back on the ice. But he did say yesterday, he's like, "This is the best I've felt in the rehab process." So
Yeah.
not even like getting back into playing, but in the rehab process.
he described it as he hit a wall like a while back.
He was like
and,
60%, couldn't get
Yeah,
to the
and
next
then
level.
he
Yeah.
hit some kind of
That's
wall, and
terrifying
no one
to
could
me.
figure out why. They consulted with a bunch of international specialists.
I'd
And then
really love
finally
to
they,
know
like,
just
settled on it.
solely
It's
from
just
like my job perspective.
I know,
That even
yeah.
just to know.
You're
Yeah.
never
You'll
gonna-
never know.
you'll never
But
find
it sucks
out.
because like I feel like this is we're and again I'm not being pessimistic, but we're only going to go as far as Demko takes us.
Yeah.
Like every team that wins a cup, they have to
Oh,
have
100%.
really good
Yeah.
or at least stud, confident starting goaltender. And Demko being hurt this early, I want to almost be so concerned. I know everybody wants to see him back on the ice, but
Yeah.
I'd almost err on caution. Just like let this go as far as it needs to go.
Yeah.
Our team's good enough, I think, to keep afloat. You know.
Yeah.
Well, for me, the Canucks were in a really good team with Demko. As soon as Demko's out of the team, but we're definitely not a team where because like I view us as we're not the top of the top, but we're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then because Demko's so good, when we're in the playoffs, if he goes on fire, you all of a sudden have a chance to be the top.
Yeah, exactly.
But as soon as he's gone, I feel like we drop into one of those teams like we're going to be battling to make the playoffs, but there is a chance you might even be come playoff time, like end of the season, you're like, oh, we're like on the outs trying to get in.
Yeah, I mean, if Demko did not, let's worst case scenario, sits the whole year, we're gonna have a real. Even if we sign Lankinen, like it's gonna be a tough in for the playoffs.
Well, it doesn't help that Seelovs is also.
I know,
is
but
also hurt.
I'm even picturing a world where Lankinen and Seelovs is the
Yeah.
tandem all year. I think that's a tough in for the playoffs. Like it's not saying we won't make it, but we're looking like wild card territory.
Someone told me that Demko, one of my clients said that Demko, he needed to learn to play through it. Is that a thing that came up?
No, what he was talking about in his interviews was how he needs to train around the injury.
Yeah.
That's his whole thing.
I
Okay.
don't want to hear that, to be honest with you.
No, but in another example, I don't think it was anything too dramatic. Like Petey's interview about his knee thing said the exact same thing. He said I had to learn how to train in the off season around my knee tendonitis because obviously I couldn't put a bunch of like stress and pressure on it, but I
Right.
had to stay in shape and work on all these things. So I didn't take it as anything too dramatic. I just took it as like what Petey said in his interview, which is basically like you just need to learn how to train around an injury, which all these guys do it every offseason.
You have to, yeah.
They're all
You have to
hurting
adapt.
from something, and they're all training at the same time while recovering from something that happened the season prior. So
Absolutely.
I just think Demko's is scary because, like Dak said, like there's just this like shroud of mystery around a very rare injury. It sounds like, and that's sketchy.
They're
'cause-
so Vancouver, man.
Yeah, and it seems to have nothing to do
So
with the injuries.
To add to Vancouver's thing, I did also hear today that Teddy Blueger was wearing a non-contact jersey,
Really?
which means something's up there too. I don't think it's dramatic because he was participating, but he's still wearing a non-contact jersey, which is not great.
So-
At some point, it's psychological.
yeah, who knows? Yeah, I mean, it's just it is what it is. At least none of it's long term. I look at it as like Joshua's thing is terrible. I feel for the guy, but he's not missing anything crucial. Blueger's skating already. It's nothing crucial. Demko's
Nothing
out
crucial for playing.
there. Yeah, that's true.
Gabe, what do you think of the Canucks coming into the season? What are your expectations for them? Maybe just regular. Let's just stick regular season, purely regular season. Do you think we're gonna win our division? Do you have expectations to lead the top of the conference? Like, what do you think of the Canucks?
I don't think we have a chance in the division right now, given our goalie predicament. I definitely think Edmonton, given their improvement, we'll talk about that later, but I think they're really the ones to beat right now in our division. I really, really look forward to our forward crop this year. It's definitely going to take away a lot of pressure from the goalie situation. And really looking forward to the DeBrusk-PD combo. I think that's going to be really one of the news stories of the year for the team.
Yeah, I agree.
What about you, Derek? What do you think regular season for the Canucks?
Okay, I mean, even with, I expect us to be talking about playoffs. That's truly it. Like even with Demko out, I expect it to be talk playoffs. So if Demko's in and we play a full season with him, then I expect it to be more of us figuring out like what seed we are in the playoffs. Whereas let's say Demko doesn't play, worst case scenario, then I still expect it to be like 2 weeks left and we're still playing to get in and we should be close. It's not like we're like, oh, yo, we're in, but it should be like, oh, if we win 2 games or something like that. I like Gabe. I also am excited for PD DeBrusk because I feel like both PD and DeBrusk have never had that like thing where they are with their partner. I just like DeBrusk, he was always the third guy on his line. PD's just never seemed to really get a guy that's like his guy. So I'm hoping between PD never having his guy and then DeBrusk never like being the number 3, maybe it's like his time to step up. So that is my biggest hopes. And then I just want to say I just love watching Quinn Hughes skate.
You're in Europe. I will say I could see a random chemistry between Sprong and PD. I was reading a report that Sprong, they met on a vacation.
Yeah, I read that too. Actually, yeah, that's super cool.
Happenstance, and they became
cool.
friends after
Yeah,
that.
they were both in Mexico. Or
Like
some
super
shit,
randomly?
by random
Yeah.
chance, and then one of them recognized the other, and like Gabe said, they
Yeah.
became chill buddies
Okay.
or
So
something.
that'd be pretty cool if
Yeah.
that became a thing.
What about you, Connor? Regular season outlook for the Canucks?
Yeah, so much rides on Demko playing. Like our entire outlook for all of us is the same. It's just whether or not Demko's playing. I'm just gonna live in a world where Demko's basically healthy.
Okay.
Maybe
Sweet.
misses a couple games to start the year, training camp, whatever. So in that world, I don't think we're winning the division of the conference. Just like Gabe said, I just think Edmonton more or less has in the bag when we get to our predictions.
We'll talk about it.
You'll hear it, but
What was the plus minus for Washington last year making the playoffs? They proved that you don't need defense to make the playoffs.
yeah, anybody
You just need pure offense.
Yes, but I actually listen.
Goaltending,
We'll
too.
talk about this. Kevin Woodley talked about this. Charlie Lindgren
was amazing.
for adjusted
Okay.
percentage was like one of the best goaltenders
Yeah.
in the entire league.
Okay, can I just go back to something we said about Sprong and PD? What if PD's like you said it was just like random meetup? What if like Sprong was like, I need to reinvigorate my career? So like he randomly was at the same resort.
Watching
and
his Instagram
Yeah, like
and
him
just,
and
like-
his wife are like he's so nervous at the swim up bar and he's like, there he is. Should
Right
I just
after.
go over? And she's like, just do it. And he's like, nah. Like
It was right after he, I think I told you guys a story. He punched the NASCAR driver in the face.
wait, what?
Yeah, Daniel Sprong got into a fight with a guy in a bar a NASCAR driver in a bar, and he just straight up like knocked his teeth
Well,
out or something.
it's not-
Like, it was a hockey player versus a car driver.
Well,
Can you imagine PD
So,
recognized him because of that?
I would just love to
So
hear
funny.
that story of like I like Sprong more now. I just want to know where he was.
Okay,
He was chilling
well,
with
I find this
NASCAR
so
people.
funny because Connor and I have talked about
Kentucky.
Sprung for years. Because
Yeah.
even when in Seattle, when he's on Detroit, we always talked about how this guy had like a cannon of a shot,
Yeah.
but for some reason he never stuck. And Connor and I were always like, he must be like a locker room cancer. And as soon as he lands on the Canucks, we're like, oh, we're gonna fix him. Like,
Yeah,
like he's gonna be perfect.
great.
He's gonna be perfect.
I
with us.
am fully of the belief, and I'll say this now because we hadn't signed him at the time last time, but like he's gonna be Dawkins doghouse so fast. Like he is known for being a defensive liability. That is his entire thing. Is the guy is offensively gifted, but he's a black hole defensively. So like Tocchet is not gonna be.
Did he make a lot of money at some point?
No, that's his whole thing.
No.
He's a guy who constantly puts up good numbers and barely gets league minimum contracts because he's known for being good offensively.
He had an amazing
terrible
season with Seattle the year when they beat Colorado in the playoffs,
like
and
40 points.
they didn't re-sign him.
Yeah, he's
No
been
matter what.
averaging like 40 plus points for years now, and he can barely get contracts. So
That's
like
crazy.
that kind of tells you that there's something up, and it's
Yeah.
pretty obvious that I've heard it time and time again. Defensively, he's a black hole.
I
and
believe
I
in Tocchet.
think
I
there's.
believe in Tocchet.
I haven't actually heard he's a bad teammate. I just know the defensive thing. So I'm picturing the Kuzmenko situation. He's gonna like have a little streak, and he'll look good, and then he'll play a couple bad plays. And
Well,
Tocchet's
dude, if
gonna
you're
be like, "This
playing
guy
if you're
sucks."
playing pro sports like pro hockey, and even if you're a nice guy and you're lazy on defense, I think people just don't like you. So if people don't like you and you're lazy on D, they probably really don't like you.
Just imagine our coaching staff. Like this coaching staff does not let you get away with shit. And think of like Gonchar and Foot defensemen too. We're not going to let a guy like not play defense.
True.
The only time in hockey you can get away with that scenario you put is if you're like this otherworldly offensive player.
Yeah.
Where you're so good offensively where you don't try on defense and everyone's like, yeah, well.
Like I wish Connor McDavid was a dick that didn't play defense, and they're like, "You're a center, but you're hanging out by the defenseman at the top," and he's like, "Yeah, but watch this."
Yeah, he just scores half the time, so you can't get mad.
What defense?
They just do
score
the.
more?
He's like,
They
"I don't
literally just do
understand."
the chip from their own zone, and
He just
picks
scores.
it up at the end of the line and just fucking scores. Like. I don't know if you guys saw, but Jaromir Jagr just retired.
Oh, he's
Oh,
retired.
yeah, I saw-
He's retired at the end of the
After
season.
this year.
Like 54.
After the
Damn
season.
it.
After the season.
God damn.
He's
Oh, it's
playing
after
one
the
more.
season?
One more
Okay.
season.
Okay, can I?
He's gonna be coming.
Tocchet already came out and said he wants to recruit him for a coaching
No.
position.
Crazy.
Which at first I thought was nuts, and then I remembered, wait, we have Foot and Gonchar.
You can.
And I feel like other people, but you know what I mean? I'm like, and Tocchet and him actually played together.
In
and
Pittsburgh.
apparently have a relationship. Like,
Yeah.
they're
Oh,
still buddies.
sick.
The
So I was
practice
like-
power play line is going to get even better.
I know. I'm just imagining Sedins and Jagr telling them how to run a power play. Like, can you imagine a world where that happens?
Oh my
And
gosh.
Gonchar.
Foot
That's
and
amazing.
Gonchar.
That's actually amazing. We have a unit.
How much must they cost on salary?
I wonder if they. I
we
wonder
probably
if you,
have the most.
I wonder if
we
you put
might
all
have
those guys together, like all our those.
I
So you
wouldn't
have Foot, Gonchar, the Sedins, and Jagr.
You know what they might
That could
They
be
might
a
put in
line.
a salary. They might put in a coaching salary cap for this.
I was
It'd
gonna
be a
say,
forced
they might not
line.
cost
but
too much
it'd be-
because all of them also made a fuck ton of money in their
Oh,
careers.
Jagr still plays
You know what I mean?
professional
Like,
hockey.
I was
they're
just
not
gonna
guys
say.
that were league minimum.
I was just gonna
Well,
say.
NHL coaches can make like 4 to 6 million. They probably make at least 1 to 2.
Yeah.
We probably do have the most expensive coaching staff.
I was gonna say though, Jaromir Jagr's proofs that you can be 55. 55, is that right?
I think he's 50.
52.
52. There you go.
So you have no excuse to be out of shape in your 50s if Jaromir Jagr can be 52 and play in the NHL.
Well, to be fair,
no
he also
excuse.
has
Not the
so
NHL.
much
He's
money
in the Czech
and he's chilling.
Oh, he's in
Yeah,
the Czech League.
Yeah, Czech League.
Oh, sorry. It's only the Czech League, but it's pro. My bad. Thank you.
And then, what are we thinking playoffs? What do you guys think? Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, our regular seasons go well. We get into the playoffs. What are your expectations for this team? And let's go, Demko is hurt, and then the scenario where Demko is fully healthy.
So if Demko is healthy and we're in the playoffs, I think we've got a great shot at like a conference final situation. I don't know. Edmonton's going to be a beast this year. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Like beating them, which will have to happen basically in a conference final, is going to be really, really tough. So I suspect if Demko's healthy and everything goes the way I think it could, like we could get to the conference final. Demko hurt. Depends on the first round matchup. I don't know.
Yeah.
You could draw Nashville again, but they're way better than they were. You could draw Dallas, a Winnipeg. You know what I mean? Like
the West is so fierce now.
Yeah, the West is definitely harder than the East. I think it happened last year. The West ended with like the wild card team getting 96 points or something like that, and someone in the East made it with like 91.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the same again this year. The West is better than the East.
I don't know if I'm being biased here, but for some reason, I think if Demko's healthy, this is our Stanley Cup run. Not that I'm saying that it reminds us, and we're like for like the same team, but it kind of reminds us of that. This team reminds me of like that Florida team that lost to Vegas a few years ago. Not in personnel, but the type of momentum we're starting to build.
Yeah.
A lot of hype.
Yeah.
A lot of hype, a lot of really good pieces that are finally falling into place.
Yeah.
We just need to have a couple of things fall right for us.
Yeah.
I feel like we're due for a season where Petey's finally healthy a whole season.
That would be nice.
Where Besser doesn't have a random blood clot in the middle of the playoffs.
Yeah.
That does.
And then Demko's already hurt, so maybe this is the Demko hurt, instead of being hurt at the end of the season, right? So, I don't know. I think we could be a Stanley Cup contender.
I think so too. I think the biggest thing will be what we do come deadline. Like, we're definitely trying to set ourselves up, like, with the whole LTIR thing and everything. Like, they're trying really hard to make sure when deadline comes, like, we can go out and, like, acquire probably what I think is a top 4 defenseman.
What if we?
Because I think
acquired
that's all we're
Crosby?
missing.
No, he just re-signed with Pittsburgh.
I know,
dude.
but his deal, you could acquire him for a playoff run.
I think at forward we're more or less okay. I think it's like defense is the clear upgrade. Like, we could use a true number 3 defenseman. Like a true, I was saying, like, I think Edmonton's going to go out and try to get like Cam Fowler or something like that earlier. I think like if Canucks can make a similar kind of acquisition at the deadline, get like a Cam Fowler-esque kind of defenseman, I think that would be the goal. Like,
Yeah,
and with that and Demko healthy, like a good strong defense core and Demko healthy, because I like our forwards. I think we could absolutely be a contender.
Yeah, I would say for me, I have very similar feelings to Connor. I think if we don't have Demko, I'd want us to at least like have a chance of getting out of the first round. I think we should have a good enough team to have a chance at it. I feel like it's hard to say like you should. And then I agree with kind of both of you. Like I agree with you, Dax, that like I think we do have a chance at a playoff or a cup if Demko's healthy with the team we have. There has been some nice momentum, but I'm gonna side with Connor and say that a third round, because I just don't think you can expect a cup or even a finals run just solely out of like. There's just too many good teams and it's so hard to win to say like I expect a cup or else.
I think to go from not playoff team to second round game 7 against a good team to cup win is just such a big.
It's a big jump.
It's a big, like, look at how Tampa got there, right? They're kind of like great team, President's Trophy winner, like got a couple rounds and then got swept and then had to go back and lose in like a final and then like, you know what I mean? I think like that's why I feel like Edmonton is so primed this year.
So counter, Florida did it. They went from not making the playoffs to losing the second round to Tampa embarrassingly after leading the league in the
President's Trophy.
To losing in the Stanley Cup Finals to winning the Stanley Cup.
You're right, but
I still feel like they got to the finals first, though.
But I'm not talking.
You know what I mean? Like
that's
why I also think Edmonton is going to be so good this year because they got to the finals. And what better hunger could you ask for than a team that lost?
Fair.
And they added
Right.
so many people.
Game
Yeah,
7
with Connor
finals
McDavid.
With Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
And they got deeper.
And McDavid probably went home and he was like, "I was the problem.
I hate it. I
need to be
hate
better."
it how good I think Edmonton is going to be
me
next
too,
year.
man.
And I
I
hate
hate
that I
Edmonton.
think that, but it's just, I'm like, I would put money on it.
Okay.
It's just sorry. I thought though we were talking more what we'd like expect as opposed because like I do think they could win the cup, but I think like my expectation is if Demko's there and we made the West Final, I'd be like happy with
Yeah,
that.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
There's
Uh,
like what you expect, what would be like considered a bad season, which would be like losing in the first round.
yeah, exactly.
Or
Like,
even not making the
like,
playoffs.
or
Yeah,
like start
obviously,
for
but
example, or we
that
make
would
the
be
playoffs with
terrible.
Demko. We make the playoffs with Demko.
Demko's healthy, we
and-
don't make the playoffs, then everything went wrong.
Yeah, everything went wrong. Or even like you get out in the second round to Edmonton, fine.
Yeah.
But you end up matching up a different team with Demko and you lose, you're kind of disappointed.
Yeah, like if we get to a conference final and lose to a loaded Edmonton team who then goes on to win the cup, I will not be mad at that.
Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah.
completely okay with that. That's a step for us in the right direction. Like, usually a team like that takes a step back the next year because they don't have the pieces they had the year before. Like, I don't know. Like, a win is not out of our possibilities, but it's going to be a long battle to get there.
Okay, well, before I wrap this up, any lasting thoughts on the Canucks before we switch gears to our over-under pod?
Well, I'll make my playoff predictions.
Oh, let's go.
I think anything less than a second round exit is, even with or without Demko's failure for us. I mean, we're so good. Like our forwards and defense should carry us. And I think minimum second round where we got last year. Like you, I think we can make the finals, but with Demko, at least minimum third round.
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement
Yeah,
that
we're all pretty much.
we have some pretty high expectations for this team. I mean, considering that none of us are going, this team might not make the playoffs, you know? But, yeah, so thanks for listening with us. For the
Sorry,
first,
actually, I want to do one last thing. I just feel like it's hilarious. We've gone through this whole pod, and I think we've said JT Miller's name literally once, which is hilarious because he's such a big part. And I don't think it's any disrespect. It's just kind of like, I don't know. I don't think you have to speak of JT because we know what he is.
Yeah, we know what to expect now.
He's never hurt.
He's
always there.
And I just, quite
Consistent,
frankly,
yeah.
if JT somehow came out and started a dud of the season, which it's almost to me like that would be the off, because if you've looked at his whole career, he's just always been consistently good. He is just such a, like, I would be like, I don't know what's going on, but I know JT is putting maximum effort into So
especially now that Talk is the coach,
Yeah.
like, you know, those two just vibe. Like,
Absolutely.
they're just exactly like who he was when he was younger.
You brought this up to me. Now you brought JT Miller. So Sarah and I play on a Pentasport team, and one of our teammates is a personal chef for the Canucks. He just got promoted.
Oh, nice.
So he's not the head chef, but he is one of the personal chefs, and he knows all the team. And we were talking before our game on Tuesday, and I'm like, who are the nicest Canucks? Like, who are the guys that, like, when they see you and you're serving food, consistently come up and, like, say props? And he told me the two guys that are the nicest guys that always come up to me, say my name, dap me up, JT Miller and Connor Garland.
Oh,
you know what?
that's so
Connor
sick.
Garland didn't shock me. JT Miller is a little surprised.
Yeah, he says he'll come up to him and go like, "Yo, what's up, Mark? Like, how's it going?"
Oh, that's nice.
Or like,
Yeah.
"Did you make this? Did you make the salmon?" He's like, "The salmon's bomb." Or like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna-
I've heard Connor Garland's super fucking chill.
I've-
I kind of JT. I assumed as much. I've never heard a lot. I've just like always known.
I've actually heard JT's pretty nice too, to be
yeah.
honest. Like I've met
He's
people that have
he's a
met
girl
him.
dad. He's
and-
got like three girls.
But I also think too, it's kind of hard sometimes because what we see is the hockey player that has to, like, for example, like the number one thing in sports, the team that loses the final, they stick 80 mics in their face and they go, "How you feeling right now?" And it's like I think they just sometimes might not have the best relationship with media, and it's not even on the way of they're like, "Fuck the media." It's just like you're doing your job. It's kind of like a day to day. So I think maybe it's possible the JT we see is some dude that just is not a fan of having to talk to people about hockey that maybe don't actually know hockey, like by his perspective, where they're like, "JT, why weren't you getting more shots from here?" He's just like, "You ask us every goddamn time we lose, Michael, whatever, blah blah blah." You know, like
yeah.
Anyhow, I just thought it was funny because I just thought I wasn't like holding that in my pocket. I just thought I was like, we haven't said anything about JT, and he's just, it's because we know.
Arguably the second best player on the team.
Plus, also, we talked about Hughes one time and that his skin.
That's true. We actually didn't talk about
I just
Speaking of Hughes, we forgot the
consistent-
biggest tidbit that he was training with Yossi in the summer.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I didn't know that.
So
I didn't know that.
that's yes.
Oh,
let's see.
Yeah, imagine watching those two skate together. Shit.
Yeah.
Well,
He's like, "Follow me." They're just like,
Just figure
skating. Are they on the roof?
Oh,
They're not
skating
even on
friends.
the skating. Figure eights on the roof.
all right. Well, we're gonna wrap up the Canucks section of this pod. We'll take a little break here, and then we'll see you all for the over/under.